Daryl, could you start us, please? Thank you, Daryl. Okay, welcome everyone to our regularly scheduled Sewer Commission meeting for June 8th, 2021. Before we begin, I have to read a right to know law meeting checklist. As the chairman of the Goffstown Sewer Commission, due to COVID-19 outbreak and in accordance with the Governor Sununu's Emergency Order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this board is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to the meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the Governor's Emergency Order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, this is to confirm that we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. The Sewer Commission is utilizing a telephone conference line for this electronic meeting. The public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in the meeting through dialing the following telephone number: 603-766-5646, excuse me, and using the participant code 785645 followed by the pound sign. The town previously gave notice to the public of how to access this meeting using the available telephone number with the posted agenda. If anybody has a problem with telephone access, please call 603-488-6783. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting, we will adjourn the meeting and have it rescheduled at a later date. Please note that all the votes will be taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. We'll begin the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When member states their presence, please also state, excuse me, whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. My name is Tim Redmond, and I am alone in the room. David?
I'm David Pierce. I'm alone in the room.
Thank you, David. Daniel?
Daniel Taylor. I'm alone in the room.
Thank you, Daniel. Corey?
Corey White. I'm alone in the room.
Mike Trank?
Michael Trank with Hoyle Tanner and Associates, and I'm alone in the room.
Lynn?
Lynn Pooler, Sewer Secretary. I'm alone in the room.
And Mike Dahlberg.
Mike Dahlberg, can you hear us? Mike Dahlberg? Can you hear us?
Looked like he was on his phone there. Lynn, I'd say Mike is working on getting connected.
Well, he's been there for a while, but I don't think. Can you hear us, Mike?
Maybe he muted himself.
He's not muted.
Okay.
He can't hear us for some reason.
I'm sending him an email now. I don't have his phone number.
Okay, Corey, we'll let you do that and we'll give it a second.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
In the meantime,
I'm sorry.
I'll just announce myself. It's okay.
I apologize, Chet. I did not notice that your CB was up there. Please, Selectman Bowen.
Chet Bowen, Select Board Rep, and I'm the only person in the room.
I apologize for that, Chet.
No worries.
Thank you for prodding me.
Let's see if I have his phone number. Oh, he's asking me how to turn on the audio.
Did he have a regular invitation to the Zoom meeting?
Yeah.
So what I did the last time it didn't work, I clocked right out and I rejoined. That's how it worked for me.
Okay.
I exited the meeting and then I rejoined from scratch. And it came on for me.
Yeah.
And if he has to, he can call in.
Are you emailing him or something, Lynn?
Yes.
Thank you.
Did we lose Dave?
Go ahead.
Did we lose Dave?
I don't know. I don't, he's back up there now. His button is there. I'll be happy when we can all meet in person next time.
Why? This is so fun.
Yeah, I realize it. Anybody getting a response from Mike Dolberg
Yeah,
via
he's-
email?
Can you hear us now, Mike? No? Chet, Garrett said there's several different reasons why he couldn't hear us. I'm gonna send him the phone number to tell him to call.
Yeah.
He came back on my screen, Lynn.
Yeah, but he can't hear us.
Okay. He's doing it. I can see him doing it.
I'm gonna have him call Garrett directly. 38435. We can get started without him once we do this. Or is he the first on the agenda? No.
Give it another 30 seconds and then we'll move on. It's funny because I can hear Mike's phone.
I know.
So his speakers aren't working.
I just sent him Garrett's number. Garrett's gonna try to walk him through it.
Lynn, send him an email. Tell him don't swear at us. We can hear him.
I'm not gonna do that right now because he's stressed, I can tell.
Going good. Trying to get on the
Oh, there we go.
meeting
No,
here.
he
I
could
don't know what's
always
going
hear
on.
us. I mean, we can always hear him. He couldn't
I
hear
think-
us.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I have my laptop and I have my Synaptic speakers on, and they're working.
Make sure he knows that we can hear him. Tell Garrett to tell him that, Lynn.
Garrett, if you can hear us, tell
Um,
him we can
I-
hear him.
Don't see three dots.
Yeah, and anyone on YouTube can hear him too.
Okay.
I can mute him probably. I just,
Nope, I don't.
no, if I mute him, I can't unmute him though.
No, don't do it. Just leave it alone. This is the wonderful remote meetings we've been stuck with.
I thought I had the Teams. I just double clicked on the link. Yep.
I would just have him call the public access line.
Except he's gonna try and share a plan with us, Daniel.
Oh, okay.
And he'll want to put it on he'll want to share it on his computer.
Yep.
Which usually comes up blank on my screen.
Okay.
Jim, is that the plan that shows 3 different ways for the development to connect into the system?
That's what I have. I have the draft plan in front of me, Dave. That's all I have. And it's so small I can barely read it.
Yeah, I printed one out, but
Yes, it shows.
I wasn't able to get it to him.
It shows 3 different.
Well, we'll discuss this at that agenda item,
It
please,
basically
everyone.
shows 3 different concepts.
Dave just froze. I think we lost David. He's frozen.
Lynn, do we have anybody on the line for public comment?
Let me go. I don't believe so, but let me go back out over there. Nope, just Mike Trank.
So I'm going to open, while we're waiting for this to be squared away, I'm going to open the floor for public comment. And we will remain open until we resolve some of these issues. And if no one calls in that time frame, I will close the public comment at that time. So public comment is open at this time.
Okay, hold on. I just admitted. Can you hear us now, Mike? I don't think you can hear
Yeah,
us.
I just downloaded Teams, and now my picture is actually in the same window. My
Tonight?
window or the main window?
And I thought I was bad on a computer.
No.
All right, we're going to close public comment. We have no public comment at this time, Lynn?
Nope.
Okay. If we have Dave Pierce there, we're going to have approval of the minutes from May 11th, 2021. Does anybody have any corrections or changes to the minutes? I'm just going to push it along. Daniel?
Dave,
Yes.
Daniel Taylor?
Yes. Motion.
Do you
Did
have,
you-
Dave,
no, I just wanted, do you have any comments?
Oh, I have no changes.
And Dave Pierce?
Oh, this is going to be a fun meeting. I
yes,
can
I'm
tell.
here. And I second the motion.
All right. So Daniel, could you restate your motion, please?
I motion to approve May 11th minutes as they are attached to the agenda.
Thank you. And David has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? I'll call for roll call vote on the motion. Daniel Taylor,
Yes?
Dave Pierce,
Yes.
and the chair, Tim Redmond, votes yes. So the minutes are approved. Do we have any progress on the first, on Mike Dahlberg, Lynn?
What's that? No, there's still,
Okay, so let's move on to the second item on new business, which is Woodland Village easement deed. Who knows about that, you or Corey?
Corey.
Corey, could you please let us know what's going on with this?
This is just the final deed for that, the pump, the force main.
Yes.
This is just the final deed for that.
Could you
Everything
please,
looks,
if you know what's going on, please describe it so that Commissioner Taylor knows what's going on, because this is new to him.
it's for the new project. They're actually connecting via force main through the back of their project. It comes out onto, I think it's Washington Street,
Yes, Washington Court.
Washington Court, and ties into the manhole right there.
Now, do they own the land that is crossing?
Yes, they own the land.
So they're granting an easement for a sewer easement for future access and construction on their own land.
Correct.
Okay, so that needs to be stated as part of the easement
Okay.
deed, because it's not crossing another person's land, another owner.
Correct.
Okay. Do the other commissioners have any questions on that easement deed?
Corey, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Corey, the public GIS does not show the sewer line extending beyond No Cross Drive. So does it extend all the way up to the paper road called Washington Drive?
I don't know.
I can tell you, I can answer that. One of the owners of the project paid to have the sewer line extended up and under the brook to Washington Court as part of that planning board approval. And then that was all inspected and done and finished with Mike Yurgo's inspection. So it needs to be put on the map then, if it's not there, is what you're saying, Dave?
Thank you.
So Dave, if I understand what you're saying, we need to get that
Not on
on
the public GIS. It's probably on Corey's database.
Yeah, it's on the our
Thank you,
GIS.
Tim.
There's a lot of stuff that isn't on the town's GIS.
It also depends on which town GIS you look at. There's one on, there's ArcGIS that has it.
So another GIS has it on there, Daniel?
Yeah.
Okay. So Dave can see it on that one, or we can get it put onto the other one. All right, so what's the report on the easement deed? Is it completed? Is it ready
Okay,
for a
thank you.
vote,
Move
Corey?
on.
Is it completed and ready for a vote, Corey?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions, more questions for Corey on the easement deed? So I'll ask for a motion from one of our other commissioners.
Does this, is a question, does this,
I think we lost
easement
Dave.
require a signature for all?
Does it require a signature, Corey?
It will require a signature from one of you.
So we're going to have a vote on it and then a subsequent signature, I would assume, correct?
Correct.
And it was run through legal and everything? It's all been reviewed?
I don't know if this has gone through legal. No, this is just what I was given,
By whom?
the property owner.
Well, I think before we vote to accept it, we have to know if it's, I mean, has anybody looked at this before, Corey? Have you any information?
I do not have any information. This was just sent a couple days ago to me.
Well, I would suggest that we have it looked at before we call for a vote on it, because if it's flawed and we vote on it, we're stuck with it.
Okay.
Other commissioners want to weigh in on that statement? Daniel?
Yes, the easement references a plan. Do we have a copy of that plan?
We'd have to ask Corey if he has a copy in his files.
Yeah, I should have a copy of that in my files. I can look and make sure I have the most updated.
Okay.
Tim, this is Dave. There were about 5 or 6 easement documents that were discussed at the last planning board and accepted by the planning board. Obviously, one of those dealt with the sewer, but I don't have that for me right now.
Do you have a recommendation, Dave?
I believe the easement was satisfactory when it was presented at the planning board. So does that give you enough confidence, Tim?
Just before the meeting tonight, Joanne came over to me, and I guess everybody else has approved it. They're just waiting on approval by the sewer commission. They want to bring it to the select board on Monday night. So if we don't vote on it, we are going to hold them all up.
Well,
Tim, this is David. I make a motion to accept the easement deed presented to the sewer commission from Woodland Village and authorize the chairman to sign the document.
do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, the motion was made to accept the Woodland Village easement deed to be signed by the chair. And I'd like to, Dave, could you amend your motion to be signed by the vice chair as well if I'm unable to be there?
So amended.
And Daniel, will you amend your second, please?
Amended. So amended.
Okay. So if there's no discussion on it, we'll have a roll call vote. Dave Pierce?
I vote yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
And the chair, Tim, votes yes. So Lynn, when you get that, either Dave or I will be available to sign that.
Okay, probably won't be till Monday when I'm back in the office, but Joanne knows that. She said that's fine because the meeting's not till Monday night.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Can Mike Dahlberg hear us now?
I can.
And we can hear you too. All right, good.
So is Mike strictly on a audio feed or on the audio and video?
I think he's just on audio. I don't see him on video.
Yeah, I can see all of you. I can hear you. So.
All right. Mike, could you please identify yourself for the record and whether you're alone in the room, please?
Mike Dahlberg. We turn my stuff down here. Mike Dahlberg, surveyor, Falcon Properties. I'm here alone. In my home office.
Okay.
Hey,
we're getting a little echo, but I think we can live with it. It's not that bad.
No, he needs to either mute his phone or his laptop, Mike. One or the other.
But
So talk to
How's
us,
that?
Mike, and we'll let you know how it sounds, please.
Is that better?
Much better. Everyone agree?
Yep.
Okay. So Mike, we moved past your application to the second application and concluded it. So Lynn, could you please let us know why Mike Dahlberg is at our meeting tonight?
Corey had asked me to invite him.
Okay. Corey, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I've been having discussions with Joe Boschman about this property and different routes on sewer, how we could tie the property into sewer. And they had a couple different ideas, and I said it's probably best to just come before the sewer commission and all talk about it together and try to figure it out instead of trying to go back and forth between everybody.
Okay. Commissioners, does everyone have a copy of the draft map that Mike sent via Lynn to all of us?
This is Dave. Yes, I have it.
I
And
have,
Daniel?
yes.
Thank you. And I have a copy of the draft map. So Mike, since you're, I haven't seen your face yet, but I've been hearing you. So if you'd like to begin your presentation, go ahead and get started.
Thank you. So this property is 39 and 41 Pleasant Street. And they would like to develop it. We'd like to get sewer. And I know in the sewer regulations, it says that your sewer has to come off your frontage. And that may not be the best option for this property, cost-wise. And I know that other developments in town have access to the municipal sewer without accessing it through via their frontage. So we're inquiring about the possibility of an exception and how the commission feels about that.
Okay, Mike, could you please, I see there's options on here. Could you please discuss your options?
Hey, Mike,
One option is to
can you try
have,
to mute your phone or your laptop instead of just turning it down, because you're still echoing?
how's that?
That sounds better. Thank you.
But I can't hear you.
Oh, well, then that's not good. But
I would recommend that he uses his phone for audio and microphone, and Lynn can mute his computer. Mike.
can you hear us now, Mike?
I can.
Okay, just leave it. I'm not sure, because he didn't call in that way. Go ahead,
I
we'll live
apologize.
with it.
There are two options: to gravity feed the site to a pump station that would come Pleasant Street to South Mast, either via Car Court or directly to South Mast. And there's a potential to do the same thing, gravity on site to a pump station that would then gravity through Placid Woods to Mountain Road. So we're looking for some input from the commission, because we really like to get this project moving forward.
So Mike, this is Tim. Let's talk about the Placid Woods option for number one, please. That requires you to have easements across other people's land.
Yeah, yes.
And if I'm not mistaken, this is the reason why the sewer commission in the past has rejected exiting the rear of the property to use easements on other people's land, because when land changes hands, it becomes problematic for the sewer easement. Do you have an opinion on that subject?
Yeah, I think that if you have a properly executed an easement document, that issue is a thing of the past.
So I asked Corey to check with Mike Yurgo, because he has been involved with these types of projects. For Mike, or Corey, could you please let us know if you got any input from Mike Yurgo?
I did. Mike Yergo was telling me that this is, at first, this particular project came to him in the past. He thought it was about 5 years ago, and they denied it back then and said it would have to come out the frontage. And part of their reasoning why is because, number one, going through other people's property, it's even getting the easement, you're going to run into the issue where somebody is going to go through and not know, even though they're condos, but they go and do something in the back there and they decide to put a pool or a shed, or somebody will always end up putting something on it, especially when you need to get to it. And there's the other issue of running it through their property, and at which point most likely they're going to say, well, they're all on leach fields, and as soon as they start failing, they're going to want to try to figure out somehow to tap into that line, and they can just see more issues coming up from it. And they've had, the commissioners in the past have had, like he was saying, other projects, like I picked Church Street, and we denied coming out the back on that project too, saying that they needed to come out the frontage. And through what Mike Yergo was telling me, throughout time, when they've had issues with lines going out the back of the property, they do everything and anything they can to not put them back that way, to try to figure out a way that they go through the frontage and conform to the sewer use ordinance.
Okay. Mr. Chairman,
David?
I got my hand up.
David?
Yes. On the surface, I see nothing wrong with this concept of going through the back of the property. I got a couple questions first. How is that property currently serviced for sewer?
Somebody want to answer that?
Placid Woods, what do they do?
Placid Woods is all on leach fields.
Do we know if this proposed run of a gravity feed line is going to disturb those leach fields?
I do not know that information.
We'll go to Mike Dahlberg for that answer, please.
Well, my gut reaction is that if we were able to negotiate that easement, it would include hooking up those units to the same sewer line.
Okay, that was the right answer, Mike. Thank you.
So,
I mean, it makes sense.
So Mike, if I may, do we know that the lines that are going to be, if you were to get permission to come to Mountain Road, is the capacity in the lines available for that much sewerage? Even if you add Placid Woods to the calculations, has that been covered yet, or is that a subsequent decision based on the sewer commission's answers?
That would be a subsequent, that would be a design issue. I mean, I would imagine you have capacity.
Well, I don't know what's in the ground out there, Mike, so I don't know what size the pipe is or what the flows are or anything. So, and now we're going to add the whole Bog Road project, that all those 70 plus units are coming through the woods to that Mountain Road line, which was installed by the developer in 2000 and whatever it was, 9, when they got their first approval for that Bog Road project. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the capacity is on that line.
So presuming the capacity is available, let's operate under that assumption.
Okay, Mike? So.
And we can negotiate the easements properly executed, etc. Is that a viable option to go cross country?
Well,
Mike, so this is David. Mike Dahlberg, would you please discuss the engineering involved in running the shoreline along Pleasant Street to either, Main Street or South Mass, those two connections.
I came up with another option on that today too.
I'm sorry, say again, Corey?
In talking with Mike Yergo this afternoon, we kind of came up with another option
Yeah,
for you guys to tie in. And instead of going all the way down Car Court, because I don't know if you've looked at that, but that's going to be hard to do. We were thinking instead of turning and going down Car Court, I mean, at best, it would be great to get that project to flow into the main that connects from Mountain Road to South Mast. But we can always tie it in by planting another manhole right next to the last manhole on Pleasant Street, and with an 8-inch SDR tie into that manhole.
okay.
So that's an option as well.
Well, that would
So
be a
Mike-
lot less work.
So Mike, could you please discuss the idea of bringing a force main down Pleasant Street? What the requirements would be and what you'd need to do?
Oh, I already have the survey data in-house. So disregarding the necessary engineering, the big issue I see is getting a coring permit to go under Whittle Brook and by the bridge, and negotiating an easement somewhere in there. In getting that permit through DES.
Mike, would you propose all of the force main to be within the town right of way, or would you be looking for easements on private property?
It'd be good if we could keep it within the town right away.
I'm
It'd
gonna
probably
back
be
up.
best to run it right under the sidewalk.
That road was just rebuilt, right, Corey?
That road was rebuilt. I think it's under moratorium for another year.
Okay.
Well, it would take us a year to get an approval anyways.
I mean, I could get the list and double check it. It actually might be right next door, but as far as I know, it's probably at least a year, if not more. But I can get you the exact date, Mike.
Okay. And
So
I'd be
Mike-
very curious to see what you and Mike Yergo would come up with.
So Mike Dahlberg, this is Tim.
Yep.
What about the long-term maintenance of a force main that is under a town road? Do you have experience with that and how that plays out?
Well, I just surveyed 2.5 miles of roads in Nashua for a gas line, and we had to map all the sewer. And most of that was all force main that was put in 30 years ago. And it seems to be fine.
Is it privately owned or is it publicly owned force main?
As publicly owned.
Right, so this line itself would be a privately owned force main, if I'm not correct, right, Mike?
I guess that would be up to the commission.
Well, the commission, I don't know why the commission would want to accept that force main and be responsible for maintenance for its life. I would have to ask the other commissioners their opinion on that.
Oh, I see where you're going. Oh, no,
Should it ever fail, then we'd be responsible to replace it or repair it.
no, that would be, that would go back to the homeowners association. I see where you're going.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think the long-term approach that if the homeowners association had to assume the responsibility for that long-term maintenance, that would be a tremendous amount of money they'd be responsible for the long-term ownership and maintenance of that line. I mean, it would be the same for the gravity line that you're asking to go out the back. Correct, Mike?
Right. I mean,
And how does the sewer commission or the town know that the homeowners association would be able to bring the money, raise the money if they needed to do something? Would that be they'd have to post a long-term amount of money or a bond, or, I mean, just for discussion purposes, how would the commission handle or the town handle something like that?
I've seen it done in the past where there's a long-term renewable bond that the homeowners association or condo association maintains.
Okay.
And the town, the town is like in a primary position to get notice from the insurance company, like they would for any other bond.
Okay. I'm just trying to get some answers, because when questions come up, it'd be nice if we had discussed them in advance.
No, I understand. That's fine.
Let's talk about the back entrance, Mike. Have you had any discussions with Placid Woods about this, or is this about them tying in, or is that the first time it's been discussed tonight?
This is the first time it's been discussed. We're just trying to get our feet on the ground and get something moving forward.
So let me ask you this, and has Placid Woods agreed to allow this if the commission was to grant this?
They haven't
No,
had that
that's a
discussion.
bit premature at this point.
That's premature at this point?
So,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
this is Dave. I'd like to state my preferences in this case.
All right.
My first preference is for the line to be through Placid Woods with a properly executed easement from Placid Woods, and possibly them tying into the line as well. My second preference is the forest main going along Pleasant Street and then tying into the stub that's at the end of Pleasant, or that is in Pleasant Street. I would be opposed for that line continuing as a forced line all the way to South Mast. That would go through too much of recent construction in order to reach South Mast.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
How about Commissioner Taylor? Do you have any thoughts at this point, or are you still formulating them?
That stub that Dave just mentioned, so it's not possible to gravity feed all the way to that stub?
No, the brook is in between, and there's a big dip in the road there.
Yeah. Okay. And as for the Placid Wood option, I mean, I would like to see, my preference would be a different alignment that followed their driveway.
It does follow their driveway.
It cuts out behind all the condos, half, and then joins half of their driveway in.
I think it's like that because if you look at the elevation, it's flatter to run it that way.
It also looks like it would be easier to excavate in those areas than it would be to excavate up next to those buildings. I can see the idea.
With it being, right, I know, with it being along the driveway, then you would have less of a worry about future construction or things like that.
This is Dave. It's also possible that the sewer lines have to come out to the rear or the south of the complex in order to tie into this new line by gravity.
Are there other existing utility easements on that property? For water?
That's what Mike Shelberg to engineer if we accept the basic concept of using that alignment.
Was that a question, David?
No, I was just the concern about other utilities that are in Placid Woods. That's for Dahlberg to figure out.
Right.
If
Okay. Corey, I'd like to get some more information. Do you know if we have in fact granted a waiver for this via your conversation with Mike for any other properties to go out the rear, or have we set precedent prior to this project request?
I do not know that. He did not say whether any other commission has granted that or not.
Because I'm concerned about precedent, that's all. It's always a concern, because if it has been in the past, then we would give it consideration. But if it has not happened in the past, I'm always worried about setting precedent, which opens the floodgates for the future, because, well, you gave it to this guy. So, and to Mike's comment, to Mike Dahlberg's statements that he knows of other projects, they may have been done prior to the ordinance that state you cannot. Mike, could you answer that for me, Mike Dahlberg?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. The development that's being constructed right now across from the villa,
Yes.
they tied in their sewer through the back of the property, had to cross public service company land with an easement to get to the sewer main. They did not exit the front of the frontage of the property.
Well, there is
Plans on
there is no sewerage in the front of the property there, Mike.
There's no sewage in the front of the property on Pleasant Street either.
Well, that's a valid point.
And I'm not trying to be flippant or anything, but I think that it's the same situation.
This is Dave again. I have another reason why I like the first preference of using Placid Woods. Placid Woods is a completed development. There's nothing else that's going to be built on their parcel. So the sewer line is not going to be disruptive for any potential future development. If Mike Dahlberg was sending a line through an undeveloped parcel, that, well, it could potentially damage the future development of that parcel. Well, I don't see that happening. Placid Woods is built, so a future sewer line is not going to disturb or burden that property.
Thank you, David. Mike Dahlberg, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So I'm thinking in a reverse fashion right now, in an attempt to try to work with you folks. If it was Placid Woods that made the application to hook into the sewer line and use their frontage, that would allow the line to be constructed up to Placid Woods, and subsequently you could attach to their line. I mean, it sounds a little convoluted, but it is a way to meet the regulation as opposed to asking for a waiver. So do you know, hypothetically, if there isn't any intent for them to hook onto this line?
I would imagine that they would welcome it, because those septic systems out there have got to be getting close to their end of life.
Well,
But
I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
We'll have to discuss that with the owner of Placid Woods.
Well, I would feel better about waiving the ordinance if Placid Woods was the primary connector and you were the secondary connector to the same line, which all exited through their property and came out to Mountain Road. And then it could be a way to give credence to a decision that is not a standalone decision for the project on Pleasant Street, but an addition to a project that meets the spirit and intent of the ordinance, Mike.
Gotcha. What if it were a joint application?
That would suit me. I don't know how the other commissioners would respond to that.
This is Dave. I would prefer that too. Good solution, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
That would make me feel better.
So Mike, I think based on the comments from all of us, that if you were to engage Placid Woods in discussions and they were part of the process, I think the commission, from what you've been heard tonight, would look favorably upon moving in that direction.
Okay.
Would you like any kind of a straw vote, or are you satisfied with the comments tonight?
I think I'm satisfied with the comments. You know, we're all straightforward people, and I trust all of you. I think, except for Daniel, everyone else knows me, and I've been coming before Goffstown for over 30 years. So, you know.
And to answer one of your questions, Mike, that line in Mountain Road has capacity.
Excellent.
Corey, what is in Mountain Road?
It's either a 15 or an 18. It's oversized. It's big.
It's a big pipe.
I looked at the GIS, says it's a 15.
All right. Well, the consensus verbally, Mike Dahlberg, is that if Placid Woods made a joint application with the Pleasant Street project, that it would be something that would probably be looked favorably upon. Is that enough guidance for you at this time?
It is. It is. You know, obviously, we need to do some legwork, and if that works, then we probably pursue that avenue. If it doesn't, then we're going to be back in front of the commission with the force main in Pleasant Street.
And then all the folks in Placid Woods realize it's a $5,000 accessibility fee for each condo unit in there. They do know that. You'll have to give them that information, Mike.
Yeah, we would have to work all those numbers out, but I'm aware of that number.
Well, it's as long as they're aware of it as well.
Yeah, no, we would sit down and discuss all of it.
And then you'll have to discuss the annual sewer use fee as well. But
Yep.
Like you said, if it eliminates their septic systems in perpetuity, it sounds like a pretty good deal for them.
Yeah, I agree.
On Mike's plan, there's a note, potential future sewer line extension on Pleasant Street. Is that anything official or just something?
I got an email from my client late last night, because there's land up on that end of the street that could be developed, and it's just an idea of, could that be done? And would the commission think about extending that line, you know, for just cause?
I will tell you this, Mike, the commission does not extend lines for private development. The developer of the land would have to extend all the lines at their own expense, meet our standards, and then we would accept them and put them into our sewer system.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to imply that the town would pay for that.
Okay, good.
And I just see a second issue is if you're running a force main from your property all the way down the street, you can't just necessarily extend the sewer line up Pleasant Street further.
There's no gravity there, Daniel. They're out of gravity at that point.
Exactly. Then the potential future sewer line extension would have to tie into the pump station instead of I'm just looking at the plan here.
The plan, it would be, Daniel, would be that they would have to construct a pump station, provide an area with an easement for a construction of a pump station, and then that pump station would pump all the gravity flow to the line at the end of the line on Pleasant Street up near the roundabout area, the circle area. And then that all would become, if accepted, would become part of the municipal sewer system at that point.
Yeah, I think you
Tim,
can
this is
ignore that
Dave.
potential sewer line extension at this point.
Dave, did you want to speak?
Yes, I believe I know where that potential sewer line idea came from. it was possibly 8 or 9 years ago when I was in Chet Bowen's seat as a selectman's representative to the Sewer Commission. There was a survey sent out from the Sewer Commission to all the residents on the Hermsdorf complex.
Yep, I remember that.
With the question, would you like to participate in the town's sewer system? The response to that survey was not favorable towards the connection. However, that was the idea of running a line all the way to Hermsdorf.
I do remember that, David. Chet, do you have anything to weigh in on since your name was just mentioned?
No, I am fully referring to your expertise on this.
Okay. Well, in order to install sewer on Pleasant Street, that's a major production. It's on a road that was just built and moratoriumed. It's quite a project, so I don't know who's going to pay for that, but obviously Mike Dahlberg and his client will have their own discussions and they'll figure that stuff for themselves out.
That is correct.
All right, Mike. If you're satisfied with what we've discussed tonight, we're going to put the ball back in your court.
Thank you so much for your time. It's actually quite refreshing to be able to have a serious discussion without any animosities or aggravation. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mike. Sorry it took you so long to get you hooked up with us.
Oh, I'm sure it's on my end. I beg your forgiveness.
Well, you don't have to in the future because the select board voted to allow us to go back to live meetings. So if you do come back for a future sewer commission meeting, we'll see your smiling face and your maps on the wall.
Excellent.
Okay. Thank you, Michael.
So much.
Thanks, Mike.
Have a good night.
All right, the next item on our agenda is an old business item, the Elm Street Pump Station parking configuration. I believe Corey, Dave, and Mike Trank are all in on this, so who wants to go first?
I will, if you'd like.
Go ahead, Corey.
Basically,
well, before you say that, David, Dave Pierce, could you please report to the commission officially on the idea of getting an easement for a parking area down on the pump station project?
Okay, I'll go one step backwards from there.
Good.
I did approach the homeowner that is located to the, as you face the pump station, there to the left of the pump station, concerning would that homeowner give an easement of a little over 1,000 square feet in the shape of a triangle, a well-engineered turnaround spot could be placed next to the pump station. Right out of the box, both the homeowner, who's I think somewhere in his 90s, and his son were not favorable at all towards providing an willingly providing an easement to the town. They suggested that perhaps there's enough room to the rear of the pump station to facilitate a 3 or 4 point turning movement. To that end, I took Corey down to the building with his town truck, and yes, he could maneuver the truck to drive it into the rear of the pump station and then back it up to the corner of the property, and with maybe a 2 or 3 point turning movement, he could then drive up the driveway. So I gave Corey the outline of my conceptual outline of how a driveway would be built in a turnaround lane. I'm not sure if that conceptual driveway hit Mike Trank or not. So I'll turn it over to Corey.
Thank you, David.
yeah, and just going off of what David had just explained, at the end of the day, if we take that propane tank that's in the back now, we take it and we spin it and put it along the brook, like me and Dave were looking at, there's another 10 or 15 feet of brush that can get cut out of there, and just set that whole propane tank back. It's plenty wide enough that I can miss the building and actually turn behind the building, back up, and make my way out of there.
So
Okay.
my recommendation then that Mike Trank would do that design in his plans for the reconstruction of the pump station.
All right, so if you guys are both okay, I'm going to ask Mike Trank to be recognized. Are you both all set? All set?
Yep.
Okay, Mike, would you like to be recognized, please?
Sure.
So have you had any, a chance to discuss these items with David or Corey?
Corey has mentioned it, but I haven't actually seen anything as far as the layout.
All right, so that means someone's going to have to get you some information, or do you need to go get it yourself?
Tim, I sent you the drawing hoping you would give it to Mike, but if I have your permission, I will email Mr. Trank that drawing this evening.
Let me be clear, no sewer commissioner needs my permission to send Mike Trank anything. We're all in the same boat here together, so if someone needs to send someone to Mike, just please do it and don't wait for Mike.
Thank
Okay.
you for your openness on.
Please.
So,
It
okay.
just delays things if you send it to me because I'm Fred Flintstone with a computer.
Then I will give Mike my suggestion on how to asphalt the back of the property.
Okay, Mike Trank?
Yeah. The only concern or potential concern that I have is that I believe Mike Yergo has told me that during high water conditions, the water has come up pretty close to the building, if not to the building. Not that that would prevent you from, doing this plan, but it may be a consideration. The other thing that we'd want to look at is, if that river in the back is a fourth order stream or higher and subject to shoreland, it may be within the zone potentially, and again, something we'd need to look at, but maybe within the zone within which a shoreland permit is required. Hopefully it's far enough away that wouldn't be an issue. I just point that out as something that should probably be looked at.
Well, two issues of shoreland, Mike. Number one, if we're not cutting any trees, I don't know if shoreland applies because I thought that was strictly regulating tree removal. Is that correct or an incorrect statement?
No, it's not correct.
Okay.
You'd be adding impervious surface. So if you add impervious surface within a shoreline setback, that needs to be permitted.
All right, the second comment is, and I think Dave may be able to expound on this for me, the Goffstown Village area has an exemption from the shoreland permit for certain parameters within the town village area. And if that may fall into the parameters where we have our general
I'm familiar with the extent of that waiver from the Shoreland Protection Act, and it does not extend to the.
Okay, well, there's my answer. It does not make it to the pump station.
Yeah, I just bring it up as something that should be checked. It may not even be an issue.
Mike, if it was gravel, would it be still considered impervious surface?
Actually, it would, yes.
How about porous pavement?
That I'm not sure.
Well, I know porous pavement was part of Carl Quirum's green project down in the roundabout area, up and down Mast Road there. And it was looked favorably upon for a lot of reasons. So if the option presents itself that shoreland is a problem, maybe we could design that with porous pavement.
That would come with maintenance fees, though.
Yeah, I know maintenance, but if you go down and look at the Mass Road, it's never been maintained and it's still there. So I know maintenance is required. So we just have to look at options to try to get the thing done.
Yeah.
Maybe we just do it and beg forgiveness like the old fashioned way.
Yes, I've quickly looked at the property on Google Earth, and I believe it's about 150 feet, maybe 180 feet from the lake shore to the back of the building. So yes, it does fall within the 250 feet, but once again, that's just asking for a waiver, and we can certainly try that.
Thank you, David, for that. I think that's a great way to proceed. All right, Mike, you're going to get the drawings from David, and then would you have a look at them and report to us on that, please?
Yes.
And I don't want that to hold up the bidding of this project. We can put that in as an addendum if we need to, the parking area, which can be added at a later date on an addendum to the contract. Is that correct, Mike Trank?
It is. The only caveat I would add is if any permitting is required, that's a process that we don't have a whole lot of control over in terms of timing. So I think that would have to have some consideration in terms of timing of when you want to get it out to bid. So I think that a good starting point would be for us to check in with the New Hampshire DES shoreland folks and see what is or is not required there.
Yes, Mike, I agree with that as a preliminary move, but I think in order to get the project going, we eliminate the additional parking. We get the project going. If it requires a shoreline permit, we will add it out and send it out as a separate bid at a later date, because we don't actually need that.
I see what you're saying.
We don't actually need that. So I would just as soon see the project get moving. We've been delayed for a lot here. So I would like to, I'd like to just separate that with the other commissioners' permission. If the other commissioners would please weigh in on separating that from that Elm Street pump station project. Commissioner Pierce?
I agree that the primary reason for the construction has to move forward promptly. That's why I wanted to put on this evening's agenda a resolution about the parking. But if the parking can be enforced, then great. Let's move ahead with the primary purpose.
Thank you. And Commissioner Taylor?
That makes sense for me. I agree.
So, Mike, it seems to be the direction is we remove the additional parking from the original contract. We get it out to bid, and we'll deal with the parking. If it takes into next summer to fix it, we'll add the parking as a separate contract for a separate bid for a different project.
Sure, that makes sense.
Perfect.
I'll get you a draft contract for bidding and construction phase services.
Good. That'd be great. Any other discussion on the Elm Street pump station parking at this time from any other commissioners or Corey or our selectmen's rep chat or anyone? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next old business item, which is the Louis Street replacement project. I'll recognize Mike in a minute, but just so people know, myself and Corey met with DPW down at Louis Street. We had an on-site meeting. We walked the project based on the drawings that Mike Yurgo had worked up, and then we sent over to Hoyle Tanner to look at and review. And after our meeting with DPW, it is very apparent that there is no need to have a joint venture with DPW on the first phase of Louis Street project. So at this time, with the other commissioners' permission, we are not going to involve DPW in our cost sharing on this project. However, on the second phase, there is a major cost-sharing element, which we will have plenty of time to review and resolve with DPW prior to the bids going out. So having said that, does anybody have any questions for me before I turn it over to Mike Trank for his discussion portion of it? Okay, Mike Trank, could you please tell us where we are?
This is Mike. This in your discussion, please, any extent to phase 1 using your drawings, page C2, C3, and C4. I'm sorry, 1, C2, C3.
David, you were a little bit broken up there. I'm not sure we all heard what you wanted to say. Could you make sure that everyone could hear what you said?
I would like Mr. Trank to reference phase 1 using the things he sent us. Charlie 1, Charlie 2, Charlie 3.
Mike, the floor is yours.
You're
ahead,
saying
Mike.
that you want that, you're saying you want that designated as phase 1?
Mike,
Let me back
I
up
am-
a step.
I am not certain exactly where phase 1 is. So using your drawings, would you orient me?
Yeah, I don't have the sheets open.
It's
On the
approximately
plan
600
views,
feet.
yeah, on the plan views, we actually show break lines and label the extent of base bid. So the first or lowest 600 feet, which I believe is sheet C3, that is the base bid portion. So that would be what you're referring to, phase 1. So that would be the project that you would plan to construct. Everything beyond that, and there's actually a manhole exactly at that 600 foot or station 6, but everything beyond that, going upstream, is part of the additive option. So we've actually put 2 bid schedules into the specifications. One bid schedule is strictly limited to the base bid portion, the first 600 feet. And then bid schedule B is the items for the rest of it, and that's an additive option. And we did that, we had talked about doing that, and even if you're going to build only the base bid part of it, based on some discussion that it had with Tim, we thought it would make sense to still include the additive option part of it, if you will, to get pricing so that, if you do get favorable pricing and you've already got a contractor out there and, you decide you want to just continue with that base bid portion, then you're in a position to do that. If the bids are such that you don't feel that it's reasonable to include that in your budget for this year, then that's fine. Then you would just do the base bid part of it, that first 600 feet. And we do show break lines both in the plan view sheets and in the profile to identify. We do have it in the drawing notes, and we could add stationing to further clarify that if need be.
Dave Pierce, are you still with us? Are you?
Yes,
are you
I've got a
here?
question for Mike.
Go ahead, David.
Okay, from Mike, from station 0 to station 600, drawings show replace 2 catch basins. So why is there no involvement with DPW in the first 600 feet?
David, that was our discussion. Corey and I had the discussion. DPW is going to come in and do their own drainage after we do our sewer, because the sewer is so low, so deep at that point. They're going to do their own drainage on the first section there, which starts at Cross Street at manhole SMH number 101. And there is an existing drain at 2+ about, I'm guessing 10, which has a 12-inch CMP crossing the road. It's the only drain that's going to interfere with our work. The other 2 are drains that were proposed by DPW, and they are going to handle that themselves. One of the reasons why, Dave, is that on the other side of the road where the drainage actually runs, we measured those structures. Those are 8 and 9 feet deep. So for us to be involved with changing all that drainage 9 feet in the ground there is way more work than we should accept as part of a deal with DPW, and we made that clear. So we're only going to do the sewer line. We're going to interfere with 1 drainage man, 10 or 20 or whatever that is. We're going to fix that and replace it, and then from there all the way up to about 600. Our sewer line goes to a manhole, and that's where we were going to propose to end the first year's bid. And then from there, in the continuing up the road, the drainage actually reverses direction, and the drainage flows towards the other end of Louis Street, and that's where our joint consideration was going to come in. So there is only a single drain manhole.
Thank you
that we have
for
to
the
deal with.
clarification. Okay, then Tim, I'm happy with the phase 1, or this phase 1 construction being station 0 through 6 this year.
Good, thank you, David.
Yeah,
Daniel, do you have questions?
just
Go ahead. Was that your line?
I think just to clarify, yeah, this is Mike. Just to clarify a little further, due to the proximity of those 2 catch basins to the existing sewer, they're probably going to have to remove those anyway to replace the sewer line. So that was part of the original design. It was to just replace those catch basins.
I think we'll be able to have
Just
a much.
because they would be.
Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, it was just because they were going to be impacted by the construction anyway. And, they could be just removed and put back in place rather than, replaced with new. But in any case, they're probably going to be impacted because of the proximity to the existing sewer line.
I think when we have our live meetings and we can roll out the plans on the table, I think it'd be much easier for everyone to comprehend what I just tried in my best effort to explain over this internet.
No, you did well, but I think that the 2 catch basins that David was asking about are on the same side of the street as the sewer line is, versus the drain lines that are on the other side of the street, other than the culvert crossing.
Right. Well, 1 isn't existing and 2 are proposed, so that's a little bit confusing too for someone just taking a quick glance at the plan. I have a color copy. I don't know if anybody else has a color copy, and the color copy identifies what's originally there and what they're proposing, and I have notes on it, what they're proposing. So maybe I could share that with everyone else so they can see if they don't have it already. So to try to back up a little bit, on your Louis Street replacement project, Mike, could you continue on whatever report you have to give us on that, or are you complete at this point?
Sure. The drawings and specifications are complete, at least complete enough for review. I did send the files for the drawings and the specifications to the New Hampshire DES for them to review and comment on. That is a requirement. Really, that's where we're at. Obviously, I wanted to make sure you folks had the drawings and specifications as well, so that, you know, if you have any questions or any comments, you know, we can address those. We can talk about those. But they are in the hands of the New Hampshire DES. I will follow up with them to try to get a handle on, you know, what they estimate their time frame for review will be.
That was my next question. Thank you for answering it for me. Prior to putting this out to bid, if DES responds promptly, I would be happy to schedule another meeting before our next scheduled meeting for everyone to actually look at the plans on the table, if that would be easier for everyone and helpful, because the sooner we can get to the Mike Trank has sent out some feelers to some contractors, and there seems to be a positive response. So I would like to keep that ball rolling in the right direction with the other commissioners' approval. So Mike, when you get an update from DES,
Tim,
let us know.
Yeah.
Who's that out there? Dave?
Tim, this is Dave. Well, what decision is best this evening? It seems like you're just putting this off for another meeting. Is there a decision we need to make this evening?
No, tonight was for Mike trying to report on the progress of the project and give us an update on where we are to get ready to bid it. There's no
as soon as we get.
So you're saying,
You know, as soon as we get comments.
so you're
or
saying
approval
we're
back
not
from
ready
New
to
Hampshire
go out for bids?
No, it's not. Not until we get DES comments in case something has to be changed.
Okay. Okay. Now I understand. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Mike, did you have something you want to add?
And as soon as we get questions or comments, you know, we'll turn those right around so that we can get this out to bid.
Okay.
And just see.
Do you have any idea how long the turnaround is from DES?
Not without talking to them, no. It really depends on what they have on their plate for other projects to review. But I will follow up with them and apprise the commissioners of that. I would also mention too that we've set this up for online bidding.
Mike,
so there won't be, you know, there.
Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we've set it up for online bidding, so there won't be any printing of plans and specs. That's all going to be done online. The bidders will be able to go to a specific website, which is actually stated in the documents, and they'll be able to download the documents there and print whatever they want and not print whatever they don't want. And then the bids actually get submitted electronically online. It's actually a pretty neat process. Most of the contractors that we've worked with seem to like it.
I'm going to question both commissioners. Did either of you commissioners want to review documents or anything that Toil Tanner has prepared prior to putting them out for online bidding? Please state that if you'd like to, and contact Mike, and Mike will provide everything for you to look at if you have any questions that you'd like to see what's being put out to bid. We have anything? Anything else on Louis Street replacement project update?
Not that I can think of. I would be happy to answer any questions.
Like questions for Mike from commissioners? Okay, it sounds quiet. Thank you, Mike. David, was that you? Daniel?
No questions.
Thank you, David. Daniel?
No question.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna go, we have a warrant. I guess, Lynn, did you have something with a warrant that needs to be handled?
No, you guys took care of it already.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On other businesses warranted, I have some quick stuff. I asked Corey to investigate pricing on gates for the East Union Pump Station driveway down to the water. Corey, could you please report?
Sure. I called.
Could you please tell us where you started with the gates? You found a sample gate.
Yeah, I used a gate that Blue Ribbon Fence had put in here for the new ball fields, and just try to get an idea of what we needed. We don't need anything that crazy. That one's pretty rugged. But just, I had called Blue Ribbon Fencing and talked to them. And then I had called another company that the town has used before called the Fence Guy. Finnegan Fence, Therian Fence, and Granite State Fence. And the only numbers or people that were interested or sent me a price was Blue Ribbon Fencing. And they would make the gate, install the gate, and their price was $3,288.
Okay, thank you, Corey, for that. Before I open it up for discussion, I went down to the East Union Street pump station and I painted a possible location on the ground there for people to look at, to review the location as well. So do we have any questions or discussion from the other commissioners?
I had some questions.
Please.
One is, why does this come from our budget? Why is this our responsibility?
I can answer that for you. The town of Goffstown's Board of Selectmen turned over the property that the sewer, which was the sewer wastewater plant, is now the pumping station, turned it over to the care and discretionary use of the sewer commissioners.
Okay, that
and anything that would, any kind of improvements on that property are our decision, and certainly would be brought before the Board of Selectmen for review and approval before we did anything. If you're not aware of what happened last summer when COVID was at full swing and people had no place to go, somehow it got onto the town's some site somewhere, I won't call it a town site, but some site, that there was a water access at the sewer pumping station on East Union Street. And last summer we had piles of cars and piles of people down there partying. They left garbage. They used the woods for their business. Corey picked up trash and picked up debris, and it was really out of control. Even a couple of the neighbors who refused to be identified complained about noise down there in the evening. The big reason for the gate discussion was to limit the vehicle traffic down to the beach area for two reasons. One, for safety, because there's a lot of people around down there, and if you have backing up and vehicles driving around, it's unsafe. Secondly, the erosion down there from the vehicles moving around caused a lot of erosion into the lake, as well as the possibility of an environmental spill of some kind down there from a vehicle or a gas tank or something. We don't want to eliminate the use of the property. We just want to control the vehicles that are down next to the river down there. And that was the purpose of the discussion for this gate. And it's been going on at my insistence for a while, long before you started. So that's kind of where we are. So if you have any other questions, I'll try and answer them for you.
Yep. I don't know. I guess what if that? Do we care? What what's the benefit of us controlling that half of the property? And why wouldn't the town why wouldn't that half, could we transfer that half to the town?
I think that we're being good stewards of the property by taking care of it. That's my personal opinion. We don't have to put a gate up. We can let them do whatever they want down there. It's town property. But I think as stewards of the property, we have some role in keeping the property used accordingly and properly, and allowing the residents to get in down there without the items that I mentioned in my long-winded discussion tonight.
Yeah, it just seems that like Parks and Rec would be a better steward.
Well, that has been discussed with the porta potty thing, because Commissioner Pierce brought up the idea of putting a porta potty down there. And my contention was that the town should pay for it. We're not the ones advocating the use of that property. We're not inviting anyone down there. Somehow it got out that it's available, and people from other towns go there. I know that's not just Goffstown residents. So we requested that the town pay for the porta potty down there, which is an annual expense for so many months of the year, just for sanitary reasons, if nothing else. So in terms of the gate, we did not have a price prior to tonight. Maybe this is going nowhere. Maybe the gate will never get installed, but it was part of a longer discussion, and it's opened up to discussion tonight. And I thank you for your input.
Yeah. Yeah, I just guess it's just concerns with us being responsible for more than what a sewer commission is normally responsible for. It just seems like it'd be better off in a different part, under the responsibility of a different part of the town. Also, moving that gate up, what's the likelihood of us having access issues to our own plant station?
It's beyond the pavement, Daniel. If you've been to the East Union Pump Station, it's way below the pavement. It's where the road chokes to a narrow point.
Yeah.
And it would not prohibit people from using it. And the fire department would have a key to it, because if they needed to get down there to draw water for a fire, the fire department would have access to the.
I mean, how much of a nuisance? Because all those cars that used to park down there, they're going to park.
They're going to park up top. And we're going to have to post signage and stripe the parking lot so they don't park in front of the gates.
Which is an issue no matter what. We need to do that no matter what, because people park in front of the gates nonstop. And you got to be able to get access to it no matter what, because if there's a fire, it's one issue that's going to have to be taken care of, whether there's a gate there or not. And another issue down there, where I see where you're coming, Daniel, from, but our building sits on that property. We are the stewards of the property. I take care of the property. One of the major issues is people try, if you've ever go down there and look sometime, people launch boats there. Yep. It's not a boat launch. And there's a boat launch on the other side of the lake that is a state-mandated boat launch. And there's rules and regulations for launching your boats. It has to have a concrete bottom, so you're not disturbing the soil underneath and creating silt issues. And that's a huge issue down there. And whether at the end of the day, it's going to fall, you could try to put it off on another town entity, but at the end of the day, it's our property. We're the ones responsible for the upkeep, all of it. So it's, in my opinion, in our best interest to limit the traffic down there. It's just, it's going to benefit us as the stewards of the property.
And was the gate considered at the entrance of the property?
We had talked about a gate at the beginning of the property, but we don't want to stop all the people from being able to access the water. If we put a gate at the bottom to keep cars out of the water, and like Tim had said, stop them from potentially, there's always little kids down there. People fish down there, they love it. I can't believe somebody hasn't gotten run over as it is down there, because it's tight. And if you're not paying attention, I mean, the potential for something bad to happen is there. It's high. It's going to happen. So it's just one way to kind of cover ourselves and try to take the risk out of it for people being dumb. It's basically what it comes down to. It's sad that you have to do that, but it's just going to protect us in the long run.
Mr. Chairman, for all the positive attributes of having a gate, I would like to move forward with a motion.
All right. Before I have you make a motion, Daniel, do you have any more questions or concerned, or would you like to handle them during the motion discussion?
I'm okay with continuing.
Okay. So Dave, I'd like to have you make a motion if you would, please.
I would like to have a contract with Blue Ribbon to install a gate at the point that you've designated by paint, not to exceed $3,300.
All right. Are you going to second that, Daniel?
I'll second it.
Thank you. All right. Do we have any discussion on the motion? Dan, you have any other discussion you'd like to make this time?
I'm all set.
Thank you. So we'll have a roll call vote. Commissioner Pierce?
I vote yes.
Commissioner Taylor?
I vote yes.
And Commissioner Redmond votes yes. So Corey, now with the permission of the other two commissioners, I will make a formal presentation to the Board of Selectmen at a very soon date so that they know what we'd like to do and they will be on board with this decision that we voted on tonight. And I'd like to invite Selectman Bowen into this discussion at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In listening to everything, first of all, Daniel, I really appreciate your comments, and Corey, appreciate your answer. I think that was on point. We've had this discussion, I think, Tim, going back to sometime last year, and so much of it was around allowing the taxpayers access to the land while limiting the risk, and it sounded like everyone covered every single point of this tonight. So I'm happy with the results, and Mr. Chair, I look forward to you coming into the Select Board.
Thank you, Commissioner Bowen. All right, so we have authorized the purchase of the gates. Corey, would you please notify Blue Ribbon that subject to our discussion with the selectmen, we'll get a contract from them and sign one for them so they can begin the work?
Yep, I already have it.
But not until we make our selectmen's presentation.
Yep, all you got to do is sign it when we get the definite okay.
And at that time, I will ask the Board of Selectmen to authorize the Parks Department to place a porta potty on site, preferably right at the gate, I would imagine, where it would be accessible for the truck to pump it. We also are going to have to get some signage for the building. Corey, could you get some information on some recommendations for signage and verbiage on the signage? I think clearly state that the cars will be towed if they are in front of the gate, and they will be responsible for all towing fees, and we'll get them towed. And they can be down in the water. They can run up if they want and pay the fee before the truck hooks them up and takes them out of there, as far as I'm concerned.
Yep.
Okay, so could you make a signage recommendation at our next meeting, please?
Yep.
And if we need striping, maybe we could somehow convince Public Works to give us a hand and reimburse them for expenses if we need some striping done.
Absolutely.
Okay. Just very quickly, Corey, have you had any conversations with Belmore Catch Basin Maintenance for your summer cleaning schedule for sewer lines?
I have not. I was waiting to hear about the sewer project, so I don't book two things at the same time, being one person.
Well, I don't think you're going to be able to have that luxury, unfortunately, because we may have to have a discussion about how we're going to handle your time, or if we're going to have someone else come in and help out, or how we're going to do it. So could you just come up with some ideas for us on possible ideas on how you think we might be able to handle what's going on? Maybe we use some of our 10% of DPW's time to help us with the catch basin maintenance or something to that effect, if we can even pull that off with his limited payroll.
Yep.
With Adam's limited payroll and issues he has with keeping everything moving.
Okay.
All right. Any other input from our other commissioners on business that's as warranted, that's on the last item on our agenda? Okay, Lynn, do you have anything for us?
No, I don't.
Mike Trank, thank you very much. And Selectman Bowen, are you set?
I am all set. Thank you.
Okay, well, so with the other commissioners being set, if I am, I would ask for a meeting to be in a motion for adjourn.
This is Dave. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Don't sound so happy, Dave.
This is Dan, I second.
Seconded by Commissioner Taylor. Roll call vote. Dave?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Tim votes yes. And I thank everyone for tonight. We will be meeting, the selectmen approved our meeting, so our next regularly scheduled meeting will be in the town office building. We'll have our parameters on what we need to do, whether we have to have applicants wait in their car and be called in, depending upon what's been decided. I will have to know that we have a quorum in person for a hybrid meeting. So if anyone is not going to be able to make the meeting, we still need to have a quorum to have a hybrid meeting in person until the governor's order is lifted. And once that happens, then the rules change a little bit. So that's where we're going with meetings, folks.
Tim, I'll state right now, I will be in person.
I will too. So I'm hoping Daniel will be in person too. All right, everybody. Thank you very much and good night.
All right.
Good night.
Night.